Hi there, Paul Kirtley here, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about winter handwear. Now, I haven't actually got any gloves or mittens on my hand right now. It's not actually that cold. I've been here in Alberta for a few days and it has been super cold, but today it's warmed right up and it's hovering around 0. Thought I'd take the opportunity because I can take gloves and mittens on and off without worrying about my hands too much. I thought I'd make this video to share with you. And so the first thing is that I've always got some sort of leather work gloves with me. Now, these are actually a little bit fancy. These are the Hestra Lars Falt guide gloves, and some of you will know that I worked with Lars for quite a few years up in northern Sweden on some woodlaw Arctic experiences, and I had the great pleasure of working with Lars and learning from Lars right through the 2000s. And yeah, Lars put me onto these gloves and I know a little bit about them, and yeah, I've always used them ever since. This is the second pair of these that I've had. I wore out the first pair that I've had, but like I say, second pair in 20 years. And they start off white and tan. They're looking quite mucky now, but again, I will tell you something in a little while about the white and tan versus the brown and black that Lars told me. So stick around for that little tidbit of information. But fundamentally, these are a leather work glove, okay? And in the cold, leather is important. Plastic is more conductive than leather. Plastic becomes very stiff when it's cold. Plastics can crack. And also, if you're around hot stoves, fires, etc., plastics aren't great in those sorts of environments, and we often are using those sorts of things in the winter. And even though I don't use these as a fire glove, so to speak, just the ability to grab and move something that's warm, or indeed something that's really very cold, and these not be particularly conductive, and you know, like you're installing a stove into a heated tent as you're setting up camp, for example. These are great for this, and they're tough as well, so they protect your hands from the cold, they protect your hands from cuts, and they also protect your hands from any heat. And yeah, they're great for working in the woods as well when you need a bit of dexterity. But I find that once I get to a certain temperature, I need to be wearing mitts as my primary glove, but I always have these with me. Now, there's a couple of things to know about this. They're all leather, and they have inside a wool liner. Okay, now these are the liners that are made for these gloves, and you can buy a spare set, and I would recommend that you do that and carry them with you, because as you're working around in the woods, you might be building a shelter, you might be hauling a toboggan, you might be chopping wood with an axe or what have you. Your palms are going to get a bit sweaty, your hands are going to get a bit sweaty, and they're going to be warm enough while you're working, but then when you stop, they're going to get a bit cold. And just the ability to swap out the liners means that you can then continue to use the gloves with nice warm hands. So I have this little pack that I put in my day pack or in the top bag of my toboggan, and in there, amongst other things, are some spare finger glove liners. Okay, so I don't take a whole spare set of gloves, I just take a spare set of liners, and in another video I might tell you what else is in this little bag. But let's focus on the handwear today so this doesn't get too long. Okay, so I've got some spare liners for these gloves. Now, of course, you could set your own gloves up. Just buy a leather work glove, nice, good, sturdy leather work glove, and buy it a size too big, and then buy some you know, nice little woolen finger gloves that you can get. You know, all sorts of people make them, you know, proper wool ones though, not synthetic. Icebreaker makes some, other companies make some, just some good little wool finger gloves, and then you can make your own version of this if you like. I do like the Lars gloves though. I have no connection with Hestra. As you know, regular viewers will know, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I don't want to be sponsored by anybody. I very much like being able to just share what I like and what I don't like based on my experience. And so even though I used to work with Lars, my pairs of these I've bought over the years, and it's been a very good investment. They are tough. As I say, they start off a nice white colour, and you can see that these have been very well used, and they've lasted me a long time. You do It's worth treating them with a bit of leather balm from time to time, the Hestra leather balm, that helps waterproof them. But these are not particularly waterproof gloves. I've used these, I've tried using them in the Scottish mountains in winter, for example, and you get your hands in the snow when you're going up a slope, or with your ice axe, or you're digging a cave or what have you in wet snow, and these just get soaking wet with wet snow. So I don't think they're great for wet snow and sort of winter mountaineering. You want something else for those, but for the dry cold and the powdery snow in the northern forest, it's where these are designed for. They'd also be good for skiing, actually. Alpine skiing. These are great gloves, very tough. A couple of little things as well. The fact that the liner comes out, it's not just about swapping in a spare, it's also about drying them. If you've got a glove with an integral liner that won't come out, it's horrible to try and get them dry in any reasonably short period of time. Whereas once you separate these out, you can hang them up inside a cabin, you can hang them up inside a heated tent, and you'll get them dry really quite quickly. Whereas gloves that have got an integral lining, a lot of ski gloves have got the insulation built into them, they're really hard to get dry quickly if they're wet from either being in wet snow or they're just wet from perspiration. So having the ability to separate these out is important from that respect as well. And Lars made sure that there were these little hanging points on the liners, like a little loop of material, and that's so that when you take the small carabiner that comes with the gloves, you can separate everything out. And this is a good tip for drying them out. Clip the carabiner through your liners, through the little hanging loops. Then they've got these sturdy brass eyelets on the outside that you can also attach other things to, for attaching the gloves to your wrist, or you can have a string or whatever you want. But fundamentally you can hang the whole lot together in a little bundle, hang it up high on the drying line in your heated tent, hang it up on a hook in a cabin, hang it up on a clothes. You can clip it onto a drying rack in the cabin, whatever's available, and get those nice and dry, and they'll be toasty and warm and dry for the next day. And of course you can add in your spares to that bundle as well if you want to, and hang those up if you've been using those during the day. So those are my finger gloves. Absolutely something I always have with me. Great for working in the woods, great for when it's not too cold. But let's have a look at what else you're going to need for cold conditions, because there's a limit to the temperature that you're going to be able to cope with these. The more active you are, of course, it's like going for a run on a cold morning, right? Maybe you don't need gloves, but if you're standing there at the bus stop waiting for the bus on a cold morning, you're going to need gloves on. So if you're active, and your body is shedding heat, you can get away with finger gloves probably in lower temperatures than if you're just static. But you're definitely going to need some mittens for cold weather travel in the Boreal forest, in the mountains. Whether you're skiing across the Hardangervidda, or whether you're in the which I've done, and that's very exposed up there, or whether you're in the crossing a cold windy lake in Canada, you want some good hand protection. Or if the absolute temperature is just very low, like it was here a couple of days ago, you're going to want some good mittens. Now again, these are Hestra, but don't get too hung up on the brand. Fundamentally they are a full leather mitt, and again that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for leather in my winter hand gear, because it stays supple, and again you can handle things that are hot. It protects your hands from the cold, protects your hands from the heat. It's durable, it doesn't crack, it doesn't have a lot of the problems that synthetic materials have. Okay, now fundamentally though, when I bought this glove, and I'll talk a bit more about what this mitten is, I was looking for a vessel, a vehicle if you like, for my luvika. And luvika are traditional Swedish hand knitted, the best ones are hand knitted gloves using two double yarn, like two threads of yarn, and then they are lightly felted and brushed a little bit, so that you can hardly see the knit there, and they become even more felt like the more you use them. And I have used these a fair bit, so you can probably only see the knit properly there where you've got the wrist embellishment there. Okay, And these are very warm. You don't want them tight, and notice that they come up quite a long way on my wrist as well, so I've got good coverage on my hand there. They're not at all tight. They're very warm, they're very comfortable. The thing with mittens you can do as well is if your thumb's cold, you can bring your thumb into with your hand as well. So you want enough room that you can, of course you can put your thumb in your thumb, but you also want to be able to put your thumb in the main thing, and keep your fingers and your thumb all together there as well. So you want enough room there for that. So I've had a number of pairs of these for many years. I bought them when I was working up in northern Sweden, and again, really good investment. Very, very nice. They're a bit like Dachsteins, but you do need to wear these within some sort of outer, because they can be a bit fragile. You wouldn't want to be collecting loads of spruce twigs and whatnot with these, because you're just going to pull the weave and you're going to damage them. So they do need to operate within some sort of outer, and so I wanted a leather outer. Now, I'd had some old Swedish military leather outers from the 1970s that I got from a surplus store, and they worked quite well in terms of covering the glove, but I found them a little bit short, and I also found the fastening really awkward. I could get one on quite well and snug around my cuff, but getting the other one on once the other mitt was on, I found a bit awkward with the type of clothing that I tend to wear. So I was on the lookout for something that was very similar in terms of the leather mitt, but also had a better fastening, a better closure here, and I found that in this Hestra bivak mitt. Now, I don't know if they still make these or not, to be honest with you, but I found these in the Hestra store in Stockholm when I was travelling through Sweden once. Stopped overnight in Stockholm, and went to the Hestra store there, which is great, and they have just probably the full range, if not the full range of Hestra, because very, 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 very close to the full range. It's a shop just full of really nice Hestra gloves, and I went through the mitts and I selected these, as I say, primarily because I wanted a full leather mitt to cover my luvicas, and then also what attracted me to these was the nice cuff, which gives me lots of overlap with a smock or a jacket, and I can cinch all of that down, and then I can get that over the top nicely there, under there, and good fastening, and it's easy to fasten. There's just a little pull here, just a little elastic cinch pull there, and that tightens it up and seals it, and you can also tighten that there. Okay, so I really like these. They've served me very well on cold days, crossing cold lakes with strong wind chill or what have you. They just really keep my hands very nice and warm. So yeah, they're always in my winter kit. I have to say, I don't wear them that often. I can often get away with less, but they are there because your hands are your life in the cold. If you lose the use of your hands, you are screwed. And so that is, it's a survival tool. It's an important piece of your equipment. And I never have just one pair of mitts. So I've got another pair of mitts here, and for me, I don't want two pairs of mitts that are exactly the same. I want one pair to back up the other if they have to, but I also want them to serve slightly different purposes. So this mitt is a shorter mitt, and it is designed really that I can pull it on and off quite quickly without having to faff around a lot with my sleeves. Okay, I can just pull that on and off as and when. So say I'm setting up some snowshoe hair snares, for example, and you might just need to do a little fiddly bit of wiring on with your hands. Yes, you can wear the finger gloves for that type of thing, but I find sometimes you still need to take your hands out just to do a quick fiddly bit, and then put your hands back in the finger gloves. They don't really warm up quite as well because your fingers are all separated. So I actually these days prefer just having this like little chopper type mitt, so that I can just stick my hands in. It's a lovely, nice, warm environment. I can just take it out, do whatever I need to do, and then put my mitt back on. I don't even have any strings on these. I don't have any encumbrance. I don't have any clips. This is a kit from Lure of the North. Lure of the North outfitters now sell them. And I sewed these up myself, and it's good quality bison leather. You can the kit comes with a wrist closure similar to this to this pull here on the Hestras. You can fit that on here if you want. You can do other elements. You can do some nice tape around to finish off the edge. I've left it quite raw here because, again, I didn't want anything going on here. I just wanted a very, very simple glove that I can pull on and off. Inside, again, all of these are separable for the same reason as we talked about with the gloves, to be able to get them dry in the evenings. Felt liner, okay. This is thick felt that I sewed up as well. The glove kits come with a pattern, so you can size them and then you can cut the materials to size. So I chose some nice green mitten material because, of course, I'm a bushcraft person. I like green, so green felt and a nice complementary bison brown, brown bison leather there, and they go together really, really well. Sewed those up over a couple of evenings, and they are really nice. Tough, warm, supple, serve that purpose that I want, where I can just slot them on and off. Now, and if I want to fasten things up a bit more, I can pull them in a bit more. My smock is long enough that I can seal things up with the smock over the top of those gloves, like so. I hope you can see that with the sun coming, low sun coming through the trees there. Okay, so those are my other pair, and I always have 2 pairs of mittens with me in a cold environment, where if there's any chance of me needing mittens, I take 2 pairs. If you lose a pair, if you lose one, if one gets wet, whatever, you've got a backup. You save your hands, otherwise you could lose your fingers in really cold environments. It's a serious place, the north, in the winter, unless it's a day like today. So that's my winter handwear. What they've all got in common is a leather outer and a wool removable thermal layer on the inside that can be dried out very, very easily. That's all non-negotiable. But within that, you've got room to maneuver. You find sets that suit you, that fit you really well, that are non-restrictive. Use that as a guide to help you with your winter handwear. I hope that's useful to you. And the last thing to say, I promised a little tidbit about these. Now, this is something that Lars told me. These come white and tan. I know these don't look very white. White and tan, goat leather. It's the army white goat leather. They also come in a really very attractive dark brown and black. They look great in town, along with your kind of casual wear as well. These, once they're dirty, look a bit scruffy, but Lars told me that the leather on these is much tougher than the leather on the black and the brown. So if you want a really tough bush pair of hand gloves, go for the white and tan. Even though the white ends up looking a bit stinky and manky, they will last longer. Okay, and if you'd like to learn more about this smock, click on the video that will appear here very soon. See you there.